Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley.
I'm Sam Harder.
And we got no Carter today, but never fear. We got one of Canada's finest exports, if not the finest. He is one of my favorite comedians, and he's here live in person. It's our friend,
John Hastings.
Welcome back from the dusty trail, my friend.
Thank you very much. I was in Arizona this morning. Also, I just started listening to one of the books on your bookshelf on audiobook, Nixonland.
Nixonland, yes.
By Rick Perlstein. Get ready to realize the problems in this country far deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I was in Arizona this morning. You guys, I assume, are both roadmen.
Occasionally, yes. I've been to Arizona.
I've been to Phoenix once.
That's enough, my friend.
That's how I felt, truly.
Here's my problem. This is the thing with America, is that you guys have to distinguish of, like, there's a moment where you guys stopped building, like, cities where you're like, whoa! And you built cities where you're like, do you want to get to a Trader Joe's in 3 minutes? Because you can do that here.
Yeah.
You have to just understand that, like, some people want that, and that is okay.
Yes.
But I do not want that.
Yeah.
That is my thing with Phoenix, where it's like, wow, we've made all the different decisions.
Right.
The thing about Phoenix that's confusing to me, too, is they think they're a cool city.
I'm so happy you said that's exactly the madness. Because you're like, because they're like, you know, like, it's not like it's crazy like LA. And I'm like, this place is way crazier than LA. Like,
well, everyone has sunburned brains. You know, that's part of it.
like, I've never been to a place where I was more shocked they legalized marijuana. I have never been somewhere where I'm like, you guys seem like the baseline is the church with the snakes. Like you that like
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I've had pleasant experiences in Tucson and Albuquerque. I've had fine times there.
I'm gonna say
like
this.
Tucson.
I'd fuck with Tucson. I'll throw this out there. I'd live in Tucson.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because here's the thing. It's pretty.
Shout out to my cousin Joanne. She lives in Tucson.
Shout out to Joe Toller. He lives in Tucson.
Joe Toller, cousin Joanne,
Saguaro cactuses.
Sabaro cactuses.
And Saguaro cactuses.
A weird Western shirt place I went to once that's now closed. A weird.
EG's.
That's the one.
Nice.
Some snow cone stand or some shit.
But here's the
it's
thing.
popular.
Here's the thing with Tucson is everything I like about Arizona, which is exactly you're like, look, we're weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that like your personality? It's like, no, I had to learn what this word was to describe what I'm doing. In other news, would you like some of these turnips? They're free. And
And check out my lapis lazuli rings.
exactly. Like, get ready to meet a bunch of people that you're like, I don't know how you guys are alive, let alone have money. But
Yeah.
we're in your house, so I'm not going to question it.
And I really also hate to write off an entire town only being there like a night and only seeing one part
Why?
of the city. But also
Disagree.
sometimes you can see that much and be like, if this is the peak of coolness, if this is the area that everyone's like, you got to go downtown to there, and you go there and you're like, this sucks.
Here's my rule, guys. It's not my job to learn that you're cool. I'm the guest.
Yeah.
Show me that it's good. You know what I mean?
It's just a bunch of bars and clubs and restaurants that are too expensive. It's the same thing as every quote-unquote
First
cool
of all,
area.
I didn't even see any of these bars or restaurants. All I got told about was a lake that was in the desert. And in my mind, I'm like, do the words salt and sea mean anything to you guys? Anyway,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I was like, yeah, I wish I could have even seen some nice bars and restaurants. I just saw an endless expanse of malls that were now closed.
I think I was in a entertainment district or something. And it was like where a bunch of like white women with bleach blonde hair and frat looking dudes go out and
It's the West's Florida.
Party,
It's been said many times. It's Florida of the West.
Do you guys understand that frats don't exist anywhere else?
What about ancient Greece?
Not there.
Okay.
they don't have frats in Canada.
They do now. But they are.
They imported them.
They are looked upon like herpes.
Wow.
Like
That's what they're looked upon
Yeah.
here. Unless you're a member of the culture, they're looked down pretty. No one thinks they're cool.
But here's your problem. You're both coastal elites. Don't think that.
I'm from Texas.
I'm from Alabama.
Where
yeah.
do you fucking live, boys?
I mean,
Where
that's
did
true.
you choose to move?
Fair point.
We are on a podcast in a room that could be best described as decorated via the personality of everyone in 2013.
Hey, that's the last year Rivers paid attention to pop culture. We've determined that on the podcast.
That's the year the podcast started.
Here's the question. Anything wrong with that? The answer? Not at all.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec still on? Who doesn't want to live in that reality?
Oh yeah, well they had that whole arc with with Louis C.K. that's just hard to watch now. You know,
I mean, I got to tell you, and I know we're really going all over the place, and I will cycle back to Arizona on your guys' cultural elitism, but I actually really like that the return of Louis has been a very interesting moment for all of us, because it was kind of this moment where it's like, you know what? Everyone's just going to personally make up their own decision about this guy, and we're just going to live in that world. And it's been very refreshing in that, no one has acted in any way that has surprised me with that situation. All the guys that I knew that, the second everything that happened with Louis happened, that they were already like, when are they coming for us? And it's like, well, why are you concerned?
Women can just lie about everything. Right? You just lie.
I missed the Me Too movement for those guys because they were so quick to be like, sir, the only thing that would make you look more suspicious is a sign that says, I hunt women.
Always making up some shit. You can't trust them.
Women are always, like my mom who loves me and I hate.
Yeah, I like Phoenix. I'll say this. Shout out to my friend Ben Lewis, lives there. Showed me a good time last time I was there. But that said, second only to Charlotte, North Carolina for the worst city in the United States. I'll say that.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put Phoenix. Here's the problem is I don't think it's fair to do cities via country, because I don't think it's as connected as people do.
True,
you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of some places they're shitheads and the cities are shitheads. Country of Sweden. None of those cities are going to be good. Why? Filled with Swedish people in Sweden.
Shout out to Anders listening in Sweden.
Anders, move.
Oh no, he
seems like he likes it.
I think he likes it.
Then guess what, Anders? You and I are enemies now.
Well, we'll come to see you, Anders. I want to go to Sweden.
Least good country in Europe, and I am aware Russia is in Europe.
I thought it was in Asia.
It is also in Asia.
It's Eurasia.
Ironically, Russia is the bisexual of continents, and I say that because Putin would hate it.
I've never been to. What's so bad about it? Just everyone there's a piece of shit.
Yeah. America gets presented as the world's big dick.
Douchebag, yeah.
And what it actually is there's usually one country that's the big boy, and then there's the little brother country next to it that's like, we're cool too, right? And then there's the other country that's put upon that's really, in many ways, should be much better, except another country's fucked them over.
Uh-huh.
So that's North America right there.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's Canada.
Sweden is the America of the
Scandinavia.
Scandinavia.
Hell yes.
They walk around being like, we were neutral and didn't help the Nazis, and everyone was like, hey man, we fucking remember World War II.
Yeah,
and you guys sided with the Nazis and left us to die. And it's remember all of us together? It was not all of us together. And you know this because as soon as you go to Finland, as soon as you land there, a Finnish person walks up to you and goes, every Swedish person is a Nazi. We beat Russia. Welcome to Finland. And everything you want from Sweden will be found in Finland, will be found in all the other Scandinavian countries. It's just... And the thing with Sweden is Sweden just doesn't own up to any of it. It's just very arrogant. It's culturally very arrogant. I was there during the Boston Marathon bombing. Literally, isn't it funny what has happened at the race? And it's
you sound like you were hanging out with the wrong crowd.
I was literally in one of the...
You were hanging out with the mayor of Sweden.
I was not one of them. One of the newspapers was literally America justifiably gets attacked, where I was like, what the fuck? You put that in the newspaper?
Holy shit.
It was so nuts. You're like, bros... You don't write that.
Yeah.
It's at that level. You know what I mean?
Oh, well.
It would be like you guys have gone to other comedy places and they, for some reason, shit on LA. But
it's understandable from my perspective, having started comedy in a different city.
So me too, but it's also that thing of I go, but everyone's shithead things where they were like, oh man, it's fucking tough to get gigs in LA. I'm like, first of all, the only reason you know that is someone from LA has come here and said that. It's not like you haven't hung out with me behind good heroin.
Well, it's kind of that principle of I can call it a shithole because I live here. You can't, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's the thing with LA comedy is it's not bad. It's just demented and insane. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The issue is similar with a lot of scenes that if you aren't getting booked in the city, you go on the road. And in LA, if you aren't getting booked in the city, it's oftentimes because you're not that great at comedy. And that would happen in Austin. People would come through and be like, oh, I'm from LA. Here's a video of me at a club and whatever. And then they come and they're terrible. They're an LA hack. Oh. And then everyone is like, oh, comics from LA are terrible. Because that doesn't just happen once. That happens every single time.
May I just say, though, and maybe I'm just a bit of a homer for LA comedy.
Yeah.
Isn't LA Hack, though, the funnest
kind of amazing.
I don't know if it's the funnest, because it is amazing to watch.
Because the confidence involved.
That's the performative confidence is great.
They're bad, but they're well practiced. And you're like, what a combo.
What's so amazing about it is that there has never been any doubt.
No. Fuck no.
Like, I think that we're all cut from the same cloth. We've all looked in the mirror and we're speaking, but we hear our daddy's voices calling us losers. You know what I'm saying?
Last Saturday, after the Comedy in English show.
Of course. That fucking show. No longer a drive from Santa Monica. Been after bombing for 8 Lithuanians.
I did want to mention this because we have a real-life Canadian in the house. So our friend Casey Skinner was hosting, and while he was on stage, as you do, he's kind of figuring out where everybody is from at that show. And
very important at a comedy show to establish where everyone is from.
But at that, that show specifically, I would say, okay, kind of important.
Who here has a grasp on the English language?
I gotta tell you, I really appreciate you saying, because that has always been my big note for that show, which is, I'm fine you sell tickets, but let's just, when someone walks in and they're like,
and that's a funny thing, is sometimes that'll happen and the comic will be like, no, you need to tell me where you're from. They'll really like press them on it.
I have been there too, where the people are like, no, speak English. And I'm like, they responded in their native language because that is the language they speak, you dullard.
Yeah. So there's the guy sitting in the front row, and Casey is going around. He's hosting. I think when you're hosting, that's kind of what you need to do.
No, Rivers, we want to attack this person that's not here to defend himself.
No. But, anyway, he's going around, and he gets to this guy, and this dude is sitting front row, hands on his knees, leaning forward, like as if he's about to go on stage. And Casey gets to him and he goes, oh, hey, man, where are you from? What's your deal? And he, quote, I'm a corporate baddie from Vancouver.
Nope. Seeing how. Drown him immediately.
A man said.
None of that surprises me as soon as you said the word Vancouver.
He was a corporate baddie from Vancouver.
And you're not a corporate baddie when you're staying at a hostel.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that was the best part. I was like, no, you're not. You're just a serial killer.
You're just a guy who's poor trying to pretend like he's not.
So the thing with the city of Vancouver is that you
got a lot of city hot takes.
Oh, he's a man of the road here.
I'm a man of the road, baby.
Yeah.
And you're also just hitting me where I live, is that Vancouver is Canada's Chicago.
Okay.
Wow. I've always heard it called like L.A. and San Fran, kind of wrapped into one.
It's L.A.'s Chicago, in that, you know how like Chicago people are also like, and Chicago, where like people are like New York, L.A. and Chicago. And
yeah.
You guys have Obama. That's enough.
Yeah.
All right. You know what I mean? And that's Vancouver's problem, is they're like, we're pretty cool too, right? And it's like,
so it's like the Phoenix thing.
But it's less than the Phoenix thing, because the Phoenix thing is just kind of like, hey man, this is cool. You know what I mean? You just hang out at your house that you bought because you have a soulless corporate job and you hate your wife.
You're a corporate baddie.
You're a corporate baddie from Phoenix.
Phoenix has corporate baddies. Vancouver has a bunch of guys that open weed dispensaries that now annoy the shit out of me. No, it's just Vancouver's just a very entitled. Sort of that hippie,
the white entitled, but we're liberal, but also we keep only whites around type deal.
If the people that hike the Silver Lake Reservoir were a city, it would be Vancouver. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Just a person who's walking in full gym gear, where you're like, you're not at risk of sweat. What the fuck are you doing?
I would say shout out Dr. Pat Riley, co-host emeritus. He probably does walk around Vancouver in a full tracksuit. So he's gone, but he's from Florida, so he's just kind of gone native,
Yeah, I want to go to Vancouver.
I do too.
To visit him.
Desperately.
I want to see how bad it is.
Yeah,
it's just Vancouver as a physical place is great. It's one of those people where the people, every third person, you're just like, go fuck myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I thought Canada was just the opposite.
It's passive aggressive city, baby.
Okay.
You can't leave that many Protestants in the snow without them just, around here we close the window. And you're just like,
well, that's Sweden, right? It's Protestants in the snow.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
And this is why I find America so refreshing, is that this is not a passive-aggressive nation. It's only aggression.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I always say to when I do tours at Hollywood Boulevard. My British clients will be like, "Oh, they pickpockets." I'm like, "No, you're gonna know if you're getting robbed in America. There will be no like, am I missing a wallet?" Like, no, they either scam you directly or put a fucking gun in your face,
or they'll
do you
rip
do
their
that as a
fucking
bit?
hands in your pocket.
That's the funniest. In Europe, the difference is someone will like sneak up behind you and take some of your money, and in America, they'll just take out their dick and a gun and be like, "Pick which one you want to deal with."
Devil's in my ears. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I did it at Comedy in English, and I got literally a woman just went, I got one of those. I got a nose laugh.
But at that show, that's a standing ovation.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, all right, laughter adjusted terms. I say this, in front of Sam, who always fucking, and you did too. The last time I saw you there, you guys fucking murdered that show.
I'm good at talking to foreigners.
Mine is like,
I just lived in Europe for 6 years, so it was my life of just like.
Mine is like strikes and gutters there. I'm either like, oh, hey, this is like, I could go tour international, or I'm like, I should walk into traffic. And those are the only two sets I ever have there.
It's also the vibe of that show is also very weird, because there's no weirder energy than a hostel, because it's an entire building that like, it feels like if we all played our cards right, we could all have sex with each other and have like the most traveling sister pants summer of our lives. But that doesn't seem to be happening.
No, because everyone there is all awkward.
Well,
too.
and they're
Of course.
Well, and they're in like a huge like room, like they're in bunk beds and shit. So it's not.
Have you guys ever stayed in hostels?
Fuck no. I don't travel that much, but if I had the opportunity, I would not take it.
This is a weird observation. Americans are not hostel people. You guys are all hotel people, and I fucking respect it. Which is why people don't like motels, and the rest of the world is like where you go to cheat on your wife with fentanyl. Well, like here it is that like, yeah, you stay at a motel, you just drive right up to your room, and what it is like there isn't the hostel like if you were staying in a hostel here, I assume like people would be like I don't want to know what a hostel in Cincinnati looks like, but I guarantee
it's like a homeless shelter.
Yeah, I think it's just a homeless shelter with a lot more Pete Rose photographs.
Well, real quick, we got a new sponsor, so I just wanted to play this advertisement real quick. So if you guys please shut the fuck up.
Hello, everyone. This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something.
He's lost the juice, man.
Okay,
So this release and you may have missed this before. They're Trump NFTs.
Oh, no, he's
back
got
when that was a thing. This was the original Trump card.
The original Trump cards were NFTs, and these he's now, because the old people that love Trump don't understand what that is, so now he's releasing these are physical cards, but he
No, they're digital. I think they're just.
Oh, just wait. There's the physical element. Here we go.
These cards show me dancing and even me holding some bitcoins. Here's the best part. I'm doing great things for my Trump digital card collectors. First, there's the real physical Trump cards. Purchase 15 or more of my Trump digital trading cards, and we'll mail you a beautiful physical trading card. It's really,
Sir, this is
I think
embarrassing.
Keep in mind, they're just AI programmed images that look like shit.
Listen to this. Like when he set this up, by the way, shout out to Brody who sent this to me, but like my mouth hit the floor when he set this up, because I'll tell you what I thought in a second.
Really, I think quite something. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate.
What?
When he set that up, I was like, oh my God, is it the assassination suits? Like he was like,
That's what I thought he was saying. I got news for you.
That'd be worth so much money.
I'll see you in October. He's selling that suit.
oh yeah.
And people are calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. So we'll cut up the knockout suit, and you're going to get a piece of it. And we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item.
Keep in mind, This is a thing they do with sports cards.
Yes.
They take people's like little
Jersey.
pieces of their jersey or glove or something, and they put it in with the card. So you're like, oh, there's it's like a memorabilia thing. It's not just a piece of paper.
I have such a weird perspective on this guy at this point.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound very, very odd, and I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole, but it's going to sound like I'm an asshole. I nearly died in 2021. I was in a really bad bicycle accident. There was a bus a foot away from me. And for years, all you're really doing is kind of thinking about how you should be dead. And it doesn't stop. Like, I talked to therapists about it, and they're like, yeah, you just think about that.
Yeah, of course.
A guy nearly murdered him.
Within millimeters.
Within millimeters. And it's this amazing thing of, if anyone doubts mental illness, the effect things have on you, nothing has changed about his words, but the energy behind it, and his eyes are just not the same. Where he's just, he literally just, you could just tell if someone went behind him, like
shit got real. But also, this is one of those things where you can tell he does not know what he's saying.
No, I also have
every time he says digital Trump card, you could tell he's like, am I saying that right? That doesn't seem like a string of words that makes sense.
I also think he's losing weight, and it's affecting his dentures. Because if you know, and this is
got the lisp. Yeah,
he's got the lisp, and he also, like, people are always like, why does he go like this? And it's like, because he feels like his teeth are falling out.
Yeah. It's the Ozempic.
This is something to give your family, your kids, your grandchildren. Number 2 is to purchase 75 of my Trump digital trading cards.
75?
And you will also be invited to join me for a gala dinner at my beautiful
another
country
great
club in
AI
Jupiter.
image right
That picture
there.
of him and that is so fucking scary looking.
Okay, how much are each individual cards for it to be 75?
They're $100 each.
Also, this isn't I don't think this is even a real picture of his country club.
Well,
it's an AI everything.
Well, what's crazy is it's not even at Mar-a-Lago. It's at some other club.
My beautiful country club in Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, that's
we really
not
have
Mar-a-Lago.
tremendous dinners with my collectors. Have a lot of fun
Who the
together.
fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that girl?
Those are the collectors.
Those are his fans, his big fans.
They had a guy with a big neck beard and a bow tie.
I don't think he's happy about this. Like, I genuinely, like, everyone like goes on and on. Oh, he's a fascist, and I'm like, listen, I completely agree that fascism is on the rise in America.
Yeah.
Everyone involved with him,
Definitely.
he is not.
He has no clue what's going on.
That's it. That's the craziest thing about this whole thing is we are 8 years into a guy walked into a room and was like, I'm the president. And this country's so fucked, everyone went, let's try it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Keeping my Trump digital trading cards at the same price of $99 each. We've done that right from the beginning. So go to collecttrumpcards.com. It's really easy to buy. You just need an email address and a credit card or crypto. You know, they call me the crypto president. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people are saying that.
Why is he second guessing everything in this
I
script?
love that. It's because he doesn't want people to say, oh, I claim to be the crypto president.
No one else is going for that.
I can explain this entire thing. It just hit me, and I hate it. I want you to take that mandolin off the wall, and I want you to smash it on my face.
Right.
So he hates his kids, right? He hates them.
Oh, yeah.
And Ivanka is not dealing with him.
Yeah, she's out.
Here is what I genuinely believe is happening. Barron Trump is in the driver's seat.
Ooh,
Let me break this down. Only a recently graduated, super rich white man would go, let me tell you how you're going to win. Phase 1, trading cards.
Yeah.
Phase 2, mentioning crypto. Phase 3, we count our money. Like,
keep in mind, this shit's been going on since about 2021.
Yeah, that was the first round. This is round 2.
When did Ivanka leave? January 6th. When did Barron immediately become favorite child? As soon as he realized that he wasn't at risk of being fucked by his dad because he didn't have tits.
Right.
So don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Go right now and collect your piece of American history. Let's have fun together and enjoy my Trump cards. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be talking about it for a long time. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
We missed a good sound clip where he says you could give it to your grandkids.
Yes.
As if you're like, what I'm giving you is digital Trump cards. In the will, you get the digital Trump cards.
Oh, you don't. I guarantee there's some people that have got. I'm leaving you a Bitcoin in that inheritance.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, just being left a pet rock.
Well, the first time he did this, there was a lot of funny like stuff online of old people complaining of being like, "How do I get this card? I ordered a card and it didn't come," and they didn't understand what an NFT was.
I mean, the NFT period was so interesting. It was this very. It was so much more bizarre than COVID because COVID was just just fucking sit inside. But that we got the vaccine. Do we have the vaccine? NFT time, the summer of 2021. That was the one that was wild because it came on the market and everyone was like, "Oh, clearly what's happening is they're just looking for a way to exploit any last little bit of money from the crypto space from these weirdos."
Yeah,
and no one's falling for this because this is a JPEG. But then people still did. That was the crazy part where you're like,
"Oh yeah."
You guys weren't at the meeting? And they're like, "Nah, man, we're going down with this shit."
We're just investment scammers. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah,
we got lucky with Bitcoin. We think this might work out,
no,
too.
You don't understand. We're just evil.
One little last piece of political news. We had to say goodbye to our favorite candidate this week, RFK.
You can say goodbye to him. I'm never saying goodbye.
He dropped out of the race and he endorsed Donald Trump. And everybody was just giving Cheryl Hines so much shit about it.
I have to tell you, I feel like I was a man alone on an island about Cheryl Hines and RFK. Because as soon as he... Listen, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I smoked a lot of cigarettes and looked at some crazy shit on the internet during the pandemic.
Sure.
I was playing a lot of video games and just straight up listening to Alex Jones, just being like, "What's this fucking guy saying?" And when you were listening to it in real time, you realize how much of a grifter he was, because I watched him over a 6-hour period, and at the beginning of it, COVID was laid out by Melinda and Bill Gates, and at the end of the 6 hours, he said, "We're going to now talk about COVID," which he had been doing the whole time.
Right.
It's from the devil, the literal devil, and then he named a bank where the devil worked. And I will always be like, if I'm the devil and I'm in hell and I hear that this motherfucker's telling people I have a job, I'm going to make sure I don't get caught
or
in
a
that.
bank account.
I'm the devil.
I don't need money.
I have souls. But the thing with RFK is I saw RFK coming a fucking mile away, and he was a nightmare during the COVID period because he would say things to the level he's saying it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Day of, in reacting to a press briefing, where you're like, that's not what was said today, you fucking rich kid.
He believes conspiracy theories about his own father's assassination.
Yeah.
He's full on board with there was a conspiracy that the government didn't release.
Where do you guys fall on the Kennedy assassination?
With RFK?
Let's go RFK and JFK.
RFK, there's some strange things with that one, specifically the amount of bullets that were fired versus how many bullets Sirhan's gun could hold.
There is debate about that, but there isn't much proof other than a sound recording.
Yeah, exactly. And
so it's one of those things where I put that in the category of I've had 3 pulls on a joint.
Yeah, exactly. It's possible.
They fucking did that shit.
It's possible.
Actually break it down of echoey kitchen, sound recording,
exactly.
chaos of maybe someone else fired off another shot. Oh, by the way, why didn't they have security? Because it's a government. They'll never actually spend money because they'll get yelled at.
Yeah.
And it's super, a bunch of sort of things.
Yeah.
What about JFK?
With JFK, my favorite thing I ever heard was actually last podcast on the left, their final hypothesis for JFK that I hadn't heard before but loved the most is that the Secret Service had been drinking the night before and were all basically still drunk while they're walking with the limo, and they said that somebody accidentally shot him from the front, and then we're like, oh shit, and then they had to cover that up, which lines up with my whole thing with most conspiracy theories of never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence. And with the JFK thing, I'm like, I like that one, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's so funny that there's just like 10 different things that were there at that same time to make that happen. And also the fact that George Bush, HW, was in Dallas but doesn't remember what he was doing is hilarious.
Here's my thing with the JFK one, is I think Lee Harvey Oswald did that shit, but here's what I think is, I think that the Russians may have had something to do with it because he lived in Russia for 4 years, was probably a CIA asset and a sharpshooter, and they really went out of their way to cover that information up. So I think what happened was maybe they got a pop-off. We're never going to fucking know.
Right.
Here's what I definitely fucking know. Oliver Stone don't know fucking shit.
Made a great film, though.
That movie is great, but that movie is so presented like it's almost a documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of... First of all, Jim Garrison sucks. You arrest these guys? Fuck you, Jim Garrison. He arrested the Grateful Dead very famously, but and was part of the John Birch Society. And the whole reason why he did that trial was it was part of a vast right-wing conspiracy to prove the federal government had been taken over by communism led by their great leader, Dwight Eisenhower.
Yeah.
As we all know, known for his love of communism.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where I come down always, and I feel this way about the Kennedy family, which is just like, JFK was not that good of a president. The Vietnam War happened because of him.
Yeah.
He was a massive Cold Warrior.
He wasn't about to pull out of Vietnam. He wasn't about to try to fix things with Cuba. In fact, the exact opposite.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis, people portray this like it was like, oh, this great act of diplomacy. He just literally, it's a sovereign nation. I don't agree with nuclear weapons being put there, but nuclear weapons were in Turkey via America, and Russia was like, we're going to do that too. And they're like, well, we're going to nuke you. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Don't make me be pro-Soviet Union, you fucking what, you adulterer. And also, RFK worked for Joe McCarthy, was very good friends with Roy Cohn, and also insulted Gore Vidal. And in my fucking house, we're a Gore Vidal house. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I choose closeted gays over a guy who slept with Marilyn Monroe any day.
I actually just watched a documentary about this stuff last night.
Which one?
It's from a YouTube account called Mob Facts. That
Ooh, hell yeah.
They upload a lot of old video footage of like mob shit throughout the history of America. It is good stuff. And this one explored, they had guys from the Warren Commission on it, and they also had two guys that went over the Warren Commission stuff, plus looked into more stuff that the Warren Commission didn't have access to.
Lots of guys that looked like us. You know what I'm saying?
No, one guy actually looked really fucking crazy. But it kind of pushed towards the mob angle, the mafia involvement angle. Which, you know, after 3 hits of a joint, compelling argument.
Yeah.
Because just because of the Jack Ruby thing, really more so than anything.
Oh, and then you get into the whole fact that Jolly West did visit Jack Ruby, and Jolly West was this guy that was in charge of all the LSD experiments with
Owsley and Tim Leary.
Well, no, he was above. He was the guy doing the LSD experiments at Stanford that gave it to those guys, and then Owsley was like, hey, I'm a guy with autism and that hasn't been invented yet. I'm going to synthesize this by tasting it enough times to figure out the chemical compound.
That's right.
For those of you who don't know who Owsley Stanley is, he was the LSD cook who basically created the modern, what we think of acid was invented by him.
Yeah, he's in Grateful Dead taping circles. He's the bear.
Yes.
So if you've heard Bear's Picks,
and part of the reason
recorded by Owsley.
That makes sense is because Ruby was so involved with the mob deeply that they had drug connections. They were big on selling dope and gambling, especially in New Orleans and to an extent Dallas, where Lee Harvey Oswald was a lot. Apparently, Lee Harvey Oswald didn't know his father. His father figure, uncle kind of guy, was a number runner for the mob. So Lee Harvey Oswald has a connection to the mob his entire life.
I love the beats of the JFK assassination. Always has the reveal of the influence on like it's either the mafia uncle,
the Russians, the mafia,
the Mourn Shield through his wife. Where like, why don't we talk about the fact that he was in Russia for 3 years?
They talk about that too. They talk about that too.
Yeah,
because he became a defector, basically went over there, but also, in order to do some of the stuff he did in America, you'd have to have a high government clearance.
This is the thing.
It's like the James Earl Ray thing where he was able to kill MLK and then escape to England.
Yeah.
Like, oh, isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
See, like what I genuinely do think is I think the CIA was running MK Ultra and they cooked a couple of eggs the wrong way. And in classic government form, the president changed, the funding changed, and they were like, all right, well, what happens now? And it's like, well, we close the door and hope no one finds us. That's what we do.
Oh, yeah.
Also, they wanted to point out that the Warren Commission did not get access to everything because of the FBI investigation where they assume that J. Edgar Hoover had some prior knowledge because he was, and people always say this and it sounds crazy, but the government does work with large crime organizations because they know what's going on. They want to know what's going on. So these guys are in with this dude, Marcelo something from, he lived in Dallas. He was the boss of Dallas. Basically, he controlled any big thing that went on in that area.
Howdy, I'm Marcelo Horsefeathers.
And
so
both Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald have a connection to him, but so does J. Edgar Hoover, because they've been looking into mob ties to maybe try to assassinate Castro.
Oh, that's true, but they tried it a bunch of times. The one thing that, and I've heard these conspiracy theories, but they don't mention is, well, they did, and the Mafia tried 4 separate times to kill Castro. Yeah. And every time, because they're not actually a government, they didn't hire people who knew how to be like one of them was like, we sent Tommy from Queens down. And they immediately were like, well, we're gonna shoot this white guy, and it's like, well, why? He's wearing a shirt that says I love Italy. Where do you fucking like, it's one of those ones where I think there's but what I do find fascinating about that time is there's so much it's such a bigger, larger, grander period of time, and there's so much more history around it of like what was going on in JFK's presidency, who LBJ represented, all this sort of stuff, like the amount of fervor and violence that was discussed, and like that people were like, it's this weird.
Also, another thing, the Kennedys went after the mob legally hard, like RFK specifically.
Sam
Giancana. To remember is they also, like, the mob, at the very least, it is provable, had business ties with Joe Kennedy. They were both investors in rum running. Like, that gets made way bigger of a deal. Joe Kennedy's main money came from, and get ready to hate the Kennedys forever, shorting and somewhat helping manipulate and creating the Great Depression. And that's where the fortune comes from, that they've all been living. Like, again, the Kennedy money that was spent on Kennedy Shanahan signs are because fucking Joe Kennedy was like, drought's coming. Can't wait for Nebraska to burn so one of my kids can get a lobotomy I can pay for. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's just fucking dark.
Speaking of RFK's kids, we had Kick Kennedy, which, what a dickhead to name your daughter Kick Kennedy.
I got it even better. Her name is Catherine. She's named after a different Kick who died in a plane crash.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The Kennedys refused to stay alive. And now that I see RFK at 70... I'm all for it. Imagine what JFK would have been if he had lived.
Oh, yeah.
He would have been dead by a different mob hit. So the government was trying to use the mafia to assassinate Castro because they would be a patsy. It wouldn't be the U.S. government that did it, technically.
Because as we know, the U.S. government really hates when people are aware that they've taken out dictators because they've never done it before.
Well, at that point, Cuba was so close and whatever. It made sense, quote unquote. But that means that they were down to have a patsy for another shooting, which could be Lee Harvey Oswald, who maybe didn't quite understand the extent of the plan, is what they were kind of arguing. That they're like, okay, you're going to kill the president, and then we're going to help you out. We're going to get you out of here. But the plan was always, we're going to fucking kill you before you can talk to the cops.
Here's the one thing I've always said about this. If I'm Lee Harvey Oswald and I'm good enough at shooting that I pull off that shot, or I'm involved in something that, like, there's something up with him. What I've always felt weird was if he's a smart enough military tactician, that he had a gun with him because he shot stupid Tibbet. I don't know why I'm attacking a guy who got murdered for no reason.
Fuck you, Officer Tibbet.
Fuck you, Officer Tibbet. He shot Tibbet and then, but then went to that movie. That's what it was. There's
he went to the Texas Theater.
He went to the Texas Theater. Just so fucking
See, that's what I think. I think that they told him, like, yo, meet us here. It'll be a chill spot. No one will think. And then, of course, no one shows up except for the cops because there's never intended. Like, if he showed up there and met the person he was supposed to meet, they would have just killed him there.
Here's what I genuinely... Here's the thing with the Kennedy assassination is I totally buy that Lee Harvey Oswald did it by himself up until Jack Ruby shooting him. That's the one part where I'm like, what the fuck's up with that part? And then I also go, if you've mapped out this whole conspiracy, why the fuck would you go... To paraphrase Dennis Miller, get me the guy who owns the titty bar. We need to settle some scores. Like, but it's one of those ones where I think it's so fucked. Or also, And here's what.
But Jack Ruby was high in the mob. Like, if he was given an order, he would have to do it.
But then also for mafia structure, you wouldn't use a guy that high because you wouldn't want to risk all your insult. It's so fucking insane. I also will never also know. And then there's also parts of the Warren Commission. Why are the Dulles brothers on it? Well, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense until you realize like all the crazy dark shit Kennedy was involved in, and they were petrified. They're going to be like, listen, if it says Greece anywhere in here, I'm going to need to go talk to some people at the House of Representatives. Why?
Yeah.
You know how Greece is a country? That's us. And
Yeah,
like, what?
Also, the Warren Commission came up with a pretty flimsy explanation of why Jack Ruby was even in that area. And it was to wire one of his dancers for the titty bar $25. That was the story of why he was down there. He was at a Western Union wiring her $25. He just happened to be there at the time, saw that Lee Harvey was there and shot him.
You're thinking that Jack Ruby is a normal person?
Mm-hmm.
We're comedians. We've dealt with club owners. As soon as you said that, I went, that makes all the sense in the world. I can take you through the conversation. Jack, where's my $25 fucking dollars? I don't got it. I know you've got it. I can see $25 on your desk. I saw it last night. I don't have it. Jack, I have your gold watch. That $25 will be wired to your account in 15 minutes. Let me just walk downtown.
Guess what happens 2 weeks later? That titty dancer dead. Shot to death.
Again, you are not taking into account how irritating a newly moneyed titty dancer could be.
The woman working for the mob, which may be working with a guy who has a direct connection to the assassination via killing Oswald.
I think that's the one thing where I just go, what the fuck happened? Like RFK, I say Sirhan did it. I even will go, I know, I just like that James Earl Ray is I think there's something. I think that was fucking what's his face, the fella in the dress who's now dead, J. Edgar Hoover. I have no evidence to back this up. I've never seen it, but here's what I think. I think J. Edgar Hoover just was like, fuck Martin Luther.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he killed Fred Hampton. So.
I think it was lit. Oh, the Fred Hampton one is the most insane one because that one they didn't even try and pretend it was another guy. It's like, what did you do? It's like, well, this guy who we shot in the shoulder, we shot a bunch of other times to make sure he was dead. Well, why? Well, you want to be nice to black people in America in the 20th century? See you in hell, pal.
Yeah. Well, RFK Jr. left us one little gift on the way out the door, and it comes in the form of a recently resurfaced 2012 article from Town and Country magazine with RFK's daughter, Kick Kennedy. And she was trying to kick off a career at the time, so they interviewed her for the Christmas issue of Town and Country magazine. This article was written by Hudson Morgan, and people actually just kind of picked out one paragraph from this magazine that I wanted to share with you guys. And last year, I described the Alex Jones trial as an endless pinata. Candy would just not stop falling out of it. And this year, it's the campaign of Robert F. Kennedy. So this is from Town and Country magazine in 2012. When she was 6, word got out that a dead whale had washed up on Squaw Island in Hyannisport. RFK, who likes to study animal skulls and skeletons, ran down to the beach and cut off the whale's head with a chainsaw.
This guy...
He then bungee corded the head to the roof of the family's minivan for a 5-hour drive back to New York. Quote, and this is Kick, every time we accelerated on the highway, whale juice would pour into the windows of the car, and it was the rankest thing on the planet. She says, quote, we all had plastic bags over our heads with mouth holes cut out, and people on the highway were giving us the finger, but that was just normal day-to-day stuff for us.
When I heard that one of RFK's wives said, stop cheating on me or I'll kill myself, and he said, you can't chain me, baby.
And then she did.
I wish someone had said, that is the most relatable, normal story you're ever going to hear about this guy.
Yes.
And not even close. Not even that there's like question. You're going to be like, I wish he was a serial killer. It would make this behavior so much more normal, right?
He's just a guy with worms in his head.
The worm thing, who knew that would get so much credence and evidence?
Yes, immediately from him, from his camp, or his kids in this case. And the image of that guy on a peaceful beach on the windswept Atlantic Ocean with a chainsaw at dawn.
So pleased the Kennedy legacy is dead. like, fuck JFK.
Yeah.
Fuck RFK. Fuck Teddy Kennedy. He literally murdered a woman.
Yeah. No, well, and then also...
and also fucked America out of having healthcare because he just didn't like Jimmy Carter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also have to shout out Joe Kennedy III, who was the first Kennedy to lose an election in Massachusetts, to Ed Markey, who ran after being in the Senate for 150 years, ran to his left somehow and beat him. So they're cooked, but just that image of the man holding a chainsaw and just like sawing through a fucking whale's head, and then just the physics of moving. It doesn't matter what the species of whale, it's got to be tremendous.
Imagine that guy who did that later told her to go to bed.
Yeah. covered in
the gristle of a whale.
Rotting whale juice.
I honestly feel like he's not a parent who would try to control his kids at
He's a
all.
fun dad.
Yeah.
He's the most fun
No,
dad.
he's not a fun dad. He's a just neglectful dad.
Fun dad. Fun dad until it fucks you up when you're older.
I don't know about you guys, but my childhood was filled with. My dad was not a quote unquote fun dad, but I knew so many like, man, Dad's so fun between the hours of 4 and 6 every night. And then he gets really angry. You know what I mean? Those kind of dads.
Yeah.
And what I always found is you're totally right. It's like neglect, and then they just decide it's like, now I got to enforce all the rules.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, sir? You have the blubber of a whale on your shoulder. I'm not cleaning my room.
Your children are covered in whale rot.
Am I alone in thinking that JFK Jr. got a genetic test and then just went, I just got to take myself out?
Yeah. I mean, potentially.
Do you know that his best friend sent him an email that day, which is, I'm going to need you to promise me that you stop flying. You are so bad at this. And it's like one of those ones, and he wrote it. It's this guy, John Perry Barlow, who's a lyricist for the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And he like writes about it in his book of like, yeah, it was really fucked up. He was so bad at it, he just wouldn't stop flying. Which is why when people are conspiracy theorists, I'm like, no, his best friend is like still apoplectic about it.
Yeah. It was the first email I ever sent in my life.
It was
1998, for heaven's sakes.
Just something about the fucking Kennedys. Oh, you're terrible at this. Well, I'll just keep doing it until I murder my wife.
Yeah. All right. Over under. Do we get one more fucking crazy story before the election?
Of course. You're going to get crazy stories for the next year.
Well, you guys are probably not as across the darkness of the internet I am, but the real fucking creepy people on that other side in the internet are already pointing to its RFK and Trump should be the ticket.
Yeah. Oh, Trump is pissed that Don Jr. made him choose JD Vance, and now he's just like, God damn it, why don't I snap this guy up?
And that's the thing is I wouldn't be surprised if they try and do something where it's literally like Trump, RFK, and Vance appearing together. I mean, like they're going to try something.
They've already started doing that. They'll just.
But I think it's going to be like they're going to edge. It's going to get like crazy because here's the thing that we've never had before. We've never had Donald Trump be desperate. We've had people around him be desperate.
It's starting.
He's definitely getting there.
Yeah. Well, he's saying everything and being like, I mean, that's just what they're saying about me, though. I'm not necessarily the crypto president.
There is 10% of me that thinks the day before the election he's just going to go like, make me the president, I'll make Palestine. I feel like he'll say something fucking like you're like what? Like he'll just go like, if I'm the president, we're putting boots on the ground in Ukraine.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure Russia wins that war. And you're like I think he's going to just like hard line, just be like, what is a group that's not with me that I can get right now?
Yeah. I mean,
am I the only one there's this, I don't want him to win, but there's also a little tiny part of me that's going, let's do it one more time. Come on, let's just like.
I think he's just fine.
It was nuts before, but like to do it again. Think about it. Like, no one's ever going to know what America will do again.
Right. Well, someone made the suggestion of just giving him some sort of Truman Show-ish America to play with, just so we could have a functioning country. But then there's a TV show where he's the president, and then he just gets to do whatever he wants.
Would love
Best of both
that.
worlds. Best of both worlds.
You just need to put a camera in Mar-a-Lago and tell him that he won. Like you just be like.
Bingo.
I don't think he would notice he wasn't in Washington.
Right.
Oh,
right.
you're just here now? Okay.
Well, anyway, RFK, goodbye. We'll see. There might be one more.
That's 3 more. I'm saying 3 more.
You say 3 more before the election? That's a lot. I might go 1. I'm going to say there's going to be one more crazy
but here's
thing.
the thing that's going to happen. I can take you through the next. These are going to be the beats of the election. The debate is going to be so-so. It's going to be split no matter what happens.
Right.
It'll be a quiet news day, and a journalist will just come upon RFK in a dumpster behind a Panera Bread.
Yeah.
And RFK will be like, "Oh, did I ever tell you about the time I fucked a Tesla?"
It's coming.
Have you ever seen a whale with a polka dot tail? Have you ever seen a man with 8 fingers on his hand? Did you have to dry your eye when you saw that puppy fly? Oh no, tell me it ain't so.
John Hastings is the host of the Wrestler Review podcast. and
now R.I.P. But yes,
R.I.P.,
still up online.
still available. Checked out this morning. You guys did a great episode on the late great Sid Eudy, a.k.a. Sid Justice, a.k.a. Sid Vicious, a.k.a. Sycho Sid. One of the best to ever do it.
You're missing one of his other gimmicks.
Lord Humongous.
He was the original Lord Humongous in Memphis. For those of you who don't know, copyright law really needed to catch up to the professional wrestling business. And basically, if you were a bad guy in a movie wearing a mask, they did a version of you in Memphis, Tennessee until that wrestler left the territory.
Is the Mad Max series of films the most influential films in the 80s wrestling?
Absolutely.
I think it has to be,
it's
right?
The most influential series of films on things that no one realizes that's why that's a thing.
Yes, there's the Road Warriors, aka LOD, but like everybody stole that gimmick, and then also Lord Humongous is the name of the bad guy from the Road Warrior.
Guy, and that guy was played by Sid, and then also Kane also played a Lord Humongous.
Yeah, everybody had chaps and bondage gear at some point.
Now here's my question: what did Jim Cornette change the name of Lord Humongous to in Smoky Mountain so he wouldn't get sued?
Is that Unabomb?
It was Unabomb.
That's right. He turned him into the Unabomb, which the idea of the Unabomber being a massive guy is so funny because it's like, oh, wow, we couldn't catch this guy for 30 years, even though he was 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
or
wearing
whatever.
a hockey mask and bondage gear because they didn't change the costume of the character.
I think Ted Kaczynski would have been caught much sooner if he was the size of Glenn Jacobs.
I would never caught if I had anything to do with it.
Yeah. Sid made his debut in 1987, tagging with Austin Idol, fighting Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Lawler in Memphis. Also, wrestled with Dan Spivey as the Skyscrapers, and there's this great clip.
Considered to be the worst tag team to ever work with in the history of modern wrestling.
Ooh.
There's an amazing clip where the Skyscrapers are fighting a jobber who is not selling for them. He is refusing to go down, and then they proceed to legitimately just beat the shit out of a guy.
It is so crazy because it's one of those moments where you realize how pretend wrestling really is.
Yes, because the guy keeps popping up, and they're doing wrestling stuff to him. They're not just like knocking him in the face, but they are picking him up and throwing him down as hard as they can, which eventually does take a toll.
Depending on that clip, then he just keeps getting up, and then they just start hitting him.
Yeah, and then they just start whacking the shit out of him.
It's pretty insane. What's so nuts is Dan Spivey was considered an unprofessional wrestler in the 80s when people were literally like shooting muscle relaxants into their eyeballs.
Yeah,
and they were like, this guy takes it too far.
Yeah. Debuted in WCW as Sid Vicious, where he would join the Four Horsemen in 1990. He was billed by the ring announcer as being from wherever he damn well pleases.
I like attitude presented by wrestling. Like I always like the ECW where people were from an ECW, like from the Bowery. And then you go there and you're like, he's just a nice block and a half.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing? Yeah.
It didn't used to be, though.
What?
No, not in the 70s, man.
This was the 90s.
Yeah, but Sid was... He was just all intensity. That was kind of his gimmick more than anything. They would put things on him, but for the most part, he would just be like giant, crazy rage monster.
You don't have to do much when you're that big.
No.
You can flex your muscles and go, grrr,
Yeah, dude.
and everyone's like, that's enough. You're scary.
But what is amazing about Sid and what's Sid's true impact is being maybe the kookiest dude. Not like crazy.
Yeah.
He's just a weirdo.
Yeah, he's kooky.
So, for example, him and Arn Anderson nearly stabbed each other to death with scissors.
I've got that here. So that happened in Blackburn, England. Anderson threatened Sid with a broken bottle, and then they got sent to their rooms by the security chief, Doug Dillinger. Sid then breaks a chair, takes the chair leg to Arn's room, and tries to attack him with the chair leg. Arn pulls out a pair of scissors. A struggle begins. Sid is stabbed 7 times. Arn is stabbed 20 times and is only saved by the intervention of 2 Colt Scorpio. Neither one of them press charges on each other, and neither did the Crown for some reason. England was just like, you guys are about to leave anyway, which is fucking crazy.
So fucking
Crazy that Too Cold Scorpio stopped a stabbing.
Yeah, that's true. And then, of course, the big thing with Sid, one of the worst injuries in sports, I think.
Oh, the fucking leg. Okay, he jumps off the second turnbuckle and lands more wrong than I've ever seen anyone land on their leg. Like, lay on your bed. Imagine you're laying on your bed with your toes face up. Now imagine one of your legs, the toes just fall to the mattress.
Imagine your leg, it becomes the number 7.
Yeah,
but in the wrong direction.
Fucked. And it's the thing you have to understand about Sid's career his entire career was that leg break, in that he made a shitload of money in wrestling, which is pretty amazing because he wasn't ever popular. He was just what the promoters thought a scary wrestler should be. So like Vince McMahon wanted to make him the next Hulk Hogan after the Ultimate Warrior, which is why they did that like changing of the guard thing. And Sid was just upset. He's like, no, I want to be a heel. I'm only going to be a heel.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon hated him so much he had to be talked into bringing him back by Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, because they're like, you don't have any other bad guy. You have to bring this guy back. And
Right,
he's like,
right.
Fine.
And then, ironically, when he beat Shawn Michaels, huge pop, even as a villain.
It's one of the craziest noises. I don't know. Sam, I assume you are a wrestling guy based on...
Sorta. Not as much as you guys.
That's so good for you. The thing you need to realize, you can watch this event that took place at Madison Square Garden. It's Survivor Series 1996.
Yeah.
And it's like an art piece because the crowd is reacting with such anger. And no one in the ring is selling it. And the ring announcers do not acknowledge it at all. And it never stops getting intense to the point that Shawn Michaels walks out. And they've tried to mute this on edit, and you just can't.
Yeah.
They boo him so aggressively. And it's so insane because the commentators are like, big time reaction here for Shawn Michaels in New York. And literally a guy named Sully from New York. Fuck you! And then this tall blonde man in a leather vest comes out, and for some reason they're just like, that guy's got short hair and not long hair. That's our fucking guy. And Sid is the only guy that acknowledges the crowd the entire night, and he plays it so, it's so interesting to watch. Like just from a pure performance standpoint of everyone's just trying to make the crowd go with them, and he's just like, yeah, fuck it. I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to point out that Sid is the only person who gets their shit together during the Shockmaster incident. Everyone else, the Shockmaster falls through the wall. We've discussed this forever, but Sid is the only person who's not dying laughing and has enough wherewithal to go, I don't care who you are, boy.
What I also think is insane is the Shockmaster angle, that because of the internet has become so much more the crazy thing that happened in the build of that match, and not the fact that it was centered around that Sid and Vader blew up Sting and Davey Boy's boat.
Yeah, that's right. And that the Shockmaster, when he re-debuted, was a construction worker who came out to a farty version of Day Tripper by the Beatles.
And also was part of WCW for so much longer than you realize. Like,
oh, yeah.
You watch pay-per-views 18 months later, and they're like, the Shockmaster's still here. And they're like, the Shockmaster's still here.
I was reading some stuff online. They said that back in the day, Sid had a pet squirrel. So he's got sort of a Bob Ross thing going on. And
let me say this to you,
some point,
to Americans. Never let anyone tell you your country isn't great. Okay. The amount of different pets you just can have here. In the rest of the world, fish, goldfish, hamster, gerbil, guinea pig, cat dog.
Yeah.
America, you can have a tiger.
Well, at some point, the boys in the locker room bet him that he wouldn't put the squirrel in his pants. And he did, and it did bite his penis, apparently.
Nothing makes me more think that the squirrel was like, that is just another tick in the win column for the squirrel. Am I correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sid earned that. Absolutely. There's another great clip of Bret Hart during his whiny period going, that's my belt. He loses the belt to Sid, and he goes, that's my belt. You know it. I know it. Everybody here knows it. And Sid is coming down the ring, the sweatiest a person can be without just actively being hit with a hose. He's like, everybody here knows it. He says, I don't know shit, cry baby. And it's fucking great. Late in his career, Sid no-showed an indie event claiming that Donald Trump's travel ban prevented him from flying, even though there was no restrictions on Americans flying from one state to another. Amazing excuse.
So good.
I wish I had used that. Like, I would come, but, Trump banned everybody from flying.
The other thing, I said this to Rivers downstairs, but I will tell you, Sam, is the other thing with Sid that made him so amazing in wrestling is he just had another job the whole time.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just sold farm chemicals in his hometown in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So he was stacking money.
So also what would happen is they would be like, you got to show up on Monday. Vince wants to talk to you. And he'd be like, I'm not going to show up to get yelled at. I'll just stay here. And they were like, don't you need money? And he's like, no, I got another gig. And that's fine. And it's just really
Nothing Vince hates more than a motherfucking guy who's
independently
not desperate.
wealthy.
Yeah.
nothing a boss hates more than a guy who just has the ability to say, I don't want to do that.
Did want to share just a couple classic
This
Sid
is-
moments
this is the
here.
this is the best one.
Here we go.
Sid, I've got a question for you. We all know that you can bring the heavy offense, but there are a lot of skeptics that think that perhaps you can't take it, that you can't take the punishment that Diesel will give you tonight. How do you address those skeptics?
Well, all the skeptics and all the people have a little bit of... Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, pal.
There we go.
I got to tell you, there is no greater tone of voice than Jim Ross's "you fucked up" tone of voice. Just let me do this again. That's live,
We're
pal.
live, pal.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
God bless you, honey.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to need to talk to Jesus. Well, you can get to him about that.
There was an angle right before the leg break where he was feuding with Goldberg, who kept smashing his cars in the parking lot. And
God
so,
damn it, Goldberg. And you act like the boat thing is crazy.
Yeah,
These guys
yeah.
been fucking with each other's cars forever.
How dare you say that about the Millennium Man?
and I don't mean smashing with a bat. I mean like putting him in a
Trash
compactor.
compactor,
Yeah,
yeah.
and this is Sid reacting to his cars getting squished on 2 different occasions.
What happened to my car? Go back! Where are you? Go back! Go back! Go
That was the end of the show. That's how they ended the show.
That was the end of the show, and they thought it was so great they decided to run it back.
Where's my car, man? All right, space 22, man. 22. 22! Oh, man! Oh, man! Oh, idiot! Oh, idiot! Go back! Where are you? Why me? Why me? Why me?
He's really got an attachment to these rental cars.
I know, and the first one you could tell it's a car that's actually been compacted. The second one they didn't want to spend the money, so it was like a car that had been cut in half.
To me, they both looked like props.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
You can't get a car that flat.
I don't think that this was so much a gimmick as they showed up at an arena and the guy's like, this is going to sound crazy, but I've got a flattened car and a half a flattened car. Can you use that for anything? And they were like, can we?
And then of course the all-time classic.
please.
Nash, you can wear any Halloween costume you want to, but you know and I know that you're only half the man that I am. And I have half the brain that you do.
And it cuts to Kevin Nash, who's wearing a crazy Sid Vicious mask in the ring, and they are
And they
losing
start
their
you
shit.
can see him laughing through the mask,
It's
if I
amazing.
recall.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What I enjoy about late era WCW is you get to see how truly unprofessional Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are as people. Like,
Oh yeah, deeply unserious people.
deeply unserious, deeply like the ethics of them cashing those checks and undermining everything to do with that. Where they're like, yeah, we got paid, and it's like, yeah, some people had pensions with the Turner organization that no longer existed because you guys got Hulk Hogan drunk and told him to go yell at Vince Russo. Like,
I did want to point out the leg break, by the way. That was, according to Sid, John Laurinaitis' idea. He was like, you need to expand your move set. And I'm like, he's enormous. He never needs to get on a rope for any reason, but he was like, oh, go ahead and jump off the second rope.
it is, I have to tell you, it really shows the good heart of every human being in that people, like, everything you hear about John Laurinaitis is you're like, this guy's a fucking stooge, idiot,
Yeah.
awful moron.
Yeah.
And then you hear more truth about him, and you're like, I knew it. And then people in the wrestling industry is like, Bryan Danielson has been like, it's been so hard. Like, he was my father. And I was like, I wouldn't trust that fucking guy to take care of an elastic band.
Yeah, yeah. R.I.P. There's the man right there.
I had those cards as
on
well.
a card.
Yeah.
We got him on a card. If you're
Got
on
him
the
on a card,
Patreon.
everybody. Sid, Sycho Sid.
The best of all wrestling cards. All those photos clearly shot at the same show
Yes.
because they're only ever in 2 different wrestling gears. So they shot it back to back. And also, none of the photos are flattering.
Oh yeah, they're all bad. They're all bad. But yeah, R.I.P. Sid Eudy.
It's like the Donald Trump cards. You don't need them to look good. You just need them to sell.
That's true. Man.
And much like the Donald Trump cards, most of these will just end up in a warehouse somewhere in Atlanta.
River's going to give these to his grandkids. That's right. He's already got plans to pass these down.
How many of those did you buy them online, or are these from when you were a kid?
They're from Eric Barnes.
Eric Barnes, friend of the show. Yeah, he brought them just to open on the podcast.
Because I had a box of them when I was a kid. I still should have a bunch of these. But the comic book shop in Collingwood Mall, Web Slingers, still big. One of the biggest.
We know it.
One of the biggest regrets my friend Paul Harrison ever has is there was a copy of Spider-Man 1 mint condition for $8,000.
Ooh, shit! And this is, I assume, before the movies and all the stuff.
Before the movies, which it is now worth almost $1 million.
Yeah,
and he recently yelled at his parents about it
because they wouldn't give him $8,000.
He reminded me, and as I remember him as a kid, like being like, we have to do this as a family. We will do this. And they never listen to him. And it's like a thing in his life he has these business ideas that he does pitch to people.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're crazy. And then he's like, I fucking told you.
Yeah.
I walked in one day, and they don't do this anymore, but comic book stores used to just be basically like a dustbin in the mall.
Yes.
Where like for no money you could get shit. And I walked in and a box of WCW cards was $1.
Oh shit! For like a whole
for the full box. And I remember it felt crazy to be like, wow, I'm like the richest kid in the neighborhood if wrestling cards were money.
Introducing the challenger from West Memphis, Arkansas, weighing 313 pounds, Sycho Sid.
Sycho Sid's got a pretty good fan base. A lot of supporters here.
Yes, indeed. Not just here in Madison Square, but all over the world.
Well, y'all, we've been having so much fun. I almost forgot. We've got ourselves a ungodly concoction today. This one is, John, you'd tell the people what we got.
The Rockin' Rainbow Fusion Energy Drink. Ingredients include cametine branched chain amino acids. And then they've listed the amino acids. And then, coffee fruit extract.
All right. So this is from 7 Select, which is, of course,
7-Eleven.
Motherfucking 7-Eleven. And I guess somebody dropped this at some point, so it's got the poked out teeter-totter bottom.
I think it's better that you bought a dented can. There's something about
It feels like authentic.
That's exactly right. Like this.
This can should not be in good shape. It should not taste good. Everything about this should be fucked up and bad.
It's got 200 mgs, folks.
That's quite a bit.
I have no idea what Rockin' Rainbow is going to taste like, but we'll...
I assume Skittles.
Skittles, perhaps.
I feel like this is going to have all the side effects that they said were in the vaccine.
Smells exactly like Skittles. I called it. Smells exactly like Skittles.
Yeah, it really does smell like Skittles. Oh, this is going to stink.
It's not the worst.
It's not good, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I completely agree, and that in some ways is insulting. I'm not taking another... Oh, my God. Here's the problem with it. It's aftertaste. Do you want to finish mine?
He was going to, whether you offered it or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you finish them all? You're a bad boy.
Oh, I got
If someone doesn't drink it, he plays cleanup. Rivers loves to play cleanup.
Come on, man. What are you, my buddy Matt, after a party?
Yeah, of course he is.
Do you, the next day after a big house party, I don't know if you guys still have big house parties, but
all the time.
Been a while.
Did you, when you'd have a big house party the morning of, would you go around and finish all of the
Fuck no.
fallen soldiers? Because I've seen a few people do that, and let me tell you, a couple of them got, as one of them went, snake bit this morning, cigarette butt.
Yeah. No, I never did that one. I definitely, next door when there was a bunch of comedians I know living there, they had, I think it was New Year's Eve. So it was like January 1st of, I'm going to say 2015 or something like that. I go over there and they had only 2 undranken bottles, and the one was gin and one was wine. And I was like, oh, if you mix them together, it sounds weird, but it tastes pretty good.
It's called genuine.
It's called genuine. Yeah. It
isn't.
Yeah. We did this.
No one actually does that except for high school kids.
Yeah. I did it in college. We just tried it because we're like, oh, this is going to be disgusting and hilarious. And then you drink it, you're like, uh-oh, it's
Speaking of which,
pretty good.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Diet Coke and rot gut red wine 50-50 over ice.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Oh yeah. That's,
Okay.
And let me warn you, you're not considering how much alcohol and caffeine you're putting into your body, but it's basically the opera night version of a Jaeger bomb. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's
Not
gi-
opera night. That's like a country.
wine.
That's like radio in the back of a pickup truck.
as soon as you involve red wine, classical music is involved. I tell you that much.
That's
Even now,
that's
what about
genuine.
Carlos Rossi?
Oh yeah.
I don't know
on.
who that is, but I'd agree with you.
It's one of those ones you can buy
the
a
jug.
gallon for $10.
Absolutely. You guys are just assuming that all opera is high art. You know what I mean? Mozart has a song about how it's really fun to lick bums or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Licked mine arsch.
Yeah.
Covered by the Insane Clown Posse.
Like a song called Lick Me Arse. The fuck does that mean? It means lick my ass, bitch. Drop that shit, Jack.
Do you know what it's like to explain to someone who the Insane Clown Posse is when
It's
they have
very hard.
when they have no? It's impossible because also when you're like, well, they started with Eminem and then they're gonna go, but then how did they become clowns? And you're like, well,
They always sort of were.
yeah, like I mean, the bigger question you want to ask is when did they become Christian? But we're not even there yet.
Oh, well, you have to reveal all the Joker cards to figure that out. Come on. Now I don't know. If I was in a pinch, I'd give that another go. But overall, I'm giving that like a 2.5, 3.
I got a 3.
What'd you
I'll give
say
it
out of
3.
5, John?
I'm going 1
Going 1
out of
Yeah.
1.
Still, it's
He loves it.
Yeah, plot twist. No, it was bad.
the
I also-
taste is. I will say this has the longest tail on it of any
I have
drink.
had-
It's
sticks with
still.
you.
I've had I've had a sip and it's still engulfing my mouth.
Well, as we always do with these energy drinks, I like to, look up the CEOs because I don't know if you know this, John, but we have found out that the CEOs of all energy drink companies are either white rappers or evil or sometimes both.
I'm picturing like an 11-year-old named Brendan who sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure that they have a kid with that
Yeah.
situation.
oh yeah.
Well-
my parents let me sleep in the master bedroom because I wanna. And you're just gonna be like, oh, I can't wait for when you're stabbing me in the neck to get my fucking iPhone.
Well, in this case, it's 7-Eleven CEO Joseph DePinto, who most recently made the news because he kind of came in and started, tightening the ropes a little bit around 7-Eleven, and there were certain stores that were maybe underperforming, and so he first of all sent out surveillance teams to make sure people weren't stealing from him. So there's a bunch of 7-Eleven owners in California that were like, yeah, there's like a sketchy plumber's van parked outside my 7-Eleven all the time, spying on me. He installed like listening devices because he thought everybody was skimming off the top because he's got 9,000 7-Elevens. They're all franchises. And he's like, we're losing all this money. It's got to be these people stealing. And then the ultimate topper was he started calling in ICE on franchise owners that he didn't like, that he felt weren't making enough money. So he would call in Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and then they would come in, and they ended up deporting 21 7-Eleven either owners or managers.
Do you think that the guy who runs 7-Eleven specifically made sure that there was no 7 or 11 in the number of people deported?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's divisible by 7. I
Can't be
suppose.
7, can't be 11, can't be 18.
But yeah, this is Sarah Jones writing for The Intelligencer. Within 7-Eleven, DePinto wields massive powers, the CEO, building a group of ex-cops and private eyes charged with identifying stores that were cooking the books,
Oh my
skimming
God.
cash, or otherwise gaming the system. In March 2018, a California court ruled that the corporation's franchise structure exempts it from certain overtime and expense reimbursement obligations and franchisees. So isn't that cool? The cool liberal state was like, oh, you guys don't have to fucking pay people what they're supposed to.
There is nothing more nightmarish than a California judge because they are never helpful. It's never
No.
like, proceed. It's always like,
Yeah.
you said the word there about 2 days ago, and I think you meant the other one. And you're like, what the fuck?
But yeah, so that's Joseph DePinto. He sucks. But, I didn't want to cap off this little segment without some fun. So I did go to r/711
Oh, fuck yeah.
for some fun 7-Eleven stories from Reddit. So I was going to share these with you guys and just tell me what you think. There's one that's like breaking news that we'll get to in a minute. But this guy, his handle is, all right, I'm going to head out. Great handle.
Well done.
Says, back when I was in high school with some friends cutting classes by staying in nearby 7-Eleven, me and my friends were doing alchemy by mixing some drinks and hot coffee we bought. It tasted like shit, as expected. There was a woman there mixing up 3 Slurpees in her cup. A bunch of college kids were blowing up the condoms they bought into balloons. The cashier was arguing with a drunk guy, and a taxi driver was pissed that another drunk guy puked on his car. The drunk guy was sitting on the curb eating potato chips and petting a stray dog.
Yeah. This is the thing. This is what when the guy was like, oh, you got to do something about 7-Eleven losing money. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to, because 7-Eleven, at least in Canada, is like, you want to see some shit after 11?
Oh, yeah.
Let's head on over to the 7-Eleven. Like, there was one that had gas pumps that they had to get a security guard because neighborhood kids and then just people from bars would go by and they would just take the gas off the thing.
Zoolander gas fights.
And they would just shoot the gas because you didn't have to activate. Like, it was like an old school one where you just clicked it up.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, like, I lived pretty close to it and it was insane. The entire neighborhood was like, let's fucking light some shit on fire. Like, it was so crazy.
This is somewhat related. It's like, being able to say, like, I remember a time before the internet does make you feel like an old man. Nothing makes me feel like more of an old man than being like, when I was 16, you could just pump gas and then pay for it. Which is, at least in Alabama, like, that's fucking wild. That honor system held until like 2002,
it was
2003.
like that way in Texas.
Yeah,
Buddies, it's still that way in Canada. Come on down.
Is that right?
Okay.
You could just steal gas.
I mean, you can't really steal gas. As someone who knows a variety of teenagers that tried that, you would be shocked to realize that those cameras are mostly focused on your license plates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, that's the thing that I remember. A guy, I know someone, he got off because he claimed he forgot to pay. And I, knowing the person, believe he attempted to steal gas.
Uh-huh.
And what the cop was at his house before he got there. Like,
whoa.
Holy shit.
because it's literally like, well, that guy took off. The license plate is this.
Yeah, where does he live?
Great.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, you're going to rush to that if you're like,
This is Rodeo Bob says, I work the graveyard shift at 7-Eleven. A stretch limo pulls into the lot around midnight. 2 of the most ordinary people step out, not dressed fancy, no suit, no evening gown, just a dude in blue jeans and his chick. He comes in, walks up to the counter and says, give me the freshest can of Copenhagen you got. Oh, and whatever the lady wants. The lady in question said she didn't want anything, so I grabbed the first can from the dispenser and set it on the counter, ring up Mr. Stretch Limousine. He asked me, hey, do you know who I am? Dude looks nonplussed by my reaction. There is no reaction from his lady. They both walk out, get in the stretch limo driveway. Still have no idea who he was or who he thought he was, but give me the freshest can of Copenhagen you got lives rent-free in my head.
who do you think it was? I think it was Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh, yeah.
He doesn't say where they were.
Doesn't say where he is. His name is Rodeo Bob, so
That's why
Texas
I'm
is
throwing-
not a bad...
I'm throwing on, this seems, because what it seems like is that's Copenhagen and Do You Know Who I Am? That is a country music or that, like, yeehaw style
I
celebrity.
feel like
It's
that's
true.
a crazy local newscaster or something.
Or,
but the limo, would a newscaster be in a limo?
well,
He's
here's
trying to show off.
Here's my thing. It's Rodeo Bob. Wyoming is the cowboy state. That's home to Jackson Hole, which is basically just Beverly Hills in the middle of the fucking desert.
That is true.
So it might have been. I'm trying to think of who would live in Jackson Hole and who
So
would
many
like be
people.
dipping. I don't know. Maybe Harrison Ford.
It's surprising also who this fucking country, the amount of tobacco you people chew is disturbing. Like, it just doesn't
I
exist
agree.
anywhere else. Like,
I agree. Yeah, I don't do it.
I've never, like, I smoke cigarettes forever and I am pro cigarette. It's the, like, oh, it cuts your gums. I'm like, right there, I'm done.
Yeah.
Cigarettes are perfect. It just slowly makes it so you can't breathe.
I got a couple more. This is Clarence Boddicker. When I was an agent of the law, I got a call one night to respond to the Main Street 7-Eleven for a disturbance. When I pulled into the lot, there was a fair amount of people standing outside. The store manager told me that someone had put a dead skunk in a paper bag, stuck it in the microwave, and turned it on high and left the store. They wound up closing that night and throwing the microwave out. The stink was unreal. And I'm like, RFK Jr. probably?
Oh my God. It's good reading this just to know that teenagers are still out there affecting change.
That's fucking wild. That's the wildest shit ever.
Did you, when you guys are teenagers, have that friend that I would call the dead skunk in a bag? kind of
Hell
friend?
no. I didn't have a friend that would do anything
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
If somebody did something like that, we'd probably stop hanging out.
I
with
had a
them.
couple of guys.
If you were trying to fuck with a dead skunk,
They were-
you're
yeah.
out of the clique.
So I was not. They were like, it would be like, like you have a friend group, and then one of your friends has another friend group. that other friend group was like fucking insane. And you know what I like? You know what I like? They all grew up to be petty criminals and kind of fuck ups, which is exactly where you expect those guys to end up. Good for them.
Yeah, never change.
They never change.
Never go change.
So fun.
Yeah.
Still, funnest bunch of guys. Do not expect anything normal to happen.
No. This one is hot off the presses. Posted 10 hours ago. Shane C. Tech. An ex-coworker just came up behind the counter and robbed us. He popped the register open, took all the cash, and punched me in the face. I'm totally shocked and stunned. And then he provides down in the comments an update. This is from 5 hours ago. Now this guy is sending me crazy texts like, hey, if you need time off, call me. I can work. I'm like, what the fuck? He's clearly on something.
That's meth behavior.
I was gonna say,
yes. I love this guy.
You guys being Texas and Alabama, you know methmen much more than I do.
Dude, California is way more meth than anywhere in the South.
Yeah, but you know, yes, California is, but LA isn't. LA, you don't see many meth in LA.
Yeah, well, LA's not that big.
Walk around here.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because I was a Koreatown man. That's fentanyl. I'm East LA, so that's fentanyl.
Watch the stream on Thursday. We'll probably see some.
Yeah.
What's happening on Thursday?
Oh, Sam and I do a stream, or Sam does a stream, and I attend when I'm not working, and we've definitely come upon some guys hitting the foil.
Around on the streets with a cell phone.
Yeah.
And, you see some shit down on Hollywood, on Vermont, down on Virgil, on everything. On Virgil, last week, I had to be like, I can't film my camera one direction because I'm pretty sure there's people with no clothes on in the street. And I don't want to get the YouTube channel banned.
Yeah.
I will say this. That area around the Virgil on Virgil has always been a bit spicy. And from COVID forward, it's like they've just gone, guess what happens at this corner? Whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah. There's the 7-Eleven on that corner.
The 7-Eleven over here is so bad that it's started to make the other 7-Eleven bad. Because it's so bad that even the bad people don't want to hang out at that 7-Eleven
So the
anymore.
less bad are at the Virgil.
They go up to that.
I love it when the sketchy fuckos also are like, enough of this place. You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't see it as much as bar culture is shrinking and it's much more microbrewery. But like, you remember like the neighborhood sketch ass bar, and then it would get too hot, and then all the sketchy guys would be like trying to hang out at the hipster bar, and you're like, hey man, you're wearing a diaper. This is not a place for you.
Right. What's the craziest shit you've seen at a 7-Eleven, or was it a gas fight?
The craziest thing I've ever seen at a 7-Eleven was the other 7-Eleven in that same neighborhood, as of course there's always two. And this is the slightly classier one. And it was across the street from, this was in Toronto, the Comfort Zone, which is a very famous after hours. Best thing, one of the great Toronto, it's now closed, but one of the best things, and people would like wait, there were crowds, is the day after Halloween, you'd wait to see what came out of Comfort Zone. Like a friend of mine, I think once saw an Elmo.
Oh, wow.
So it's wet Elmo.
It's like Walk of Shame situations.
Like Walk of Shame, but like craziness. And that's 7-Eleven, and there was a guy so fucked up on MDMA, like so tactile and weird, and the 7-Eleven clerk would just not ring in his order. He just was trying to get this behavior explained, and he's literally like stood at the counter, like feeling the counter, and like, oh, give me some cigarettes, give me some cigarettes. And he's like, why are you moving this way? And I'm right behind him, just like, don't worry about it, just like, let's move this along, because I'm like, you're approaching this like this is going to be a normal interact. This
right? He's on ecstasy.
Yeah,
probably.
This is you're not speaking to a person. You're speaking to a vehicle driven by a cat.
Yeah.
And it went on for a full 10 minutes, and I finally left. I remember I stormed, and the guy was still like, "Why are you?" And I just always remember he just was rubbing his like groin against the counter, continually going, "Can I have some cigarettes?" And the guy was like, "Just stop doing this, and I'll give you the cigarettes." And then, but it was just that moment of like, one of you relent. Sam, what's your 7-Eleven?
I mean, that story just reminded me of a story when I was in the crazy 7-Eleven over here.
Yeah.
Some guy, and it was late at night. I was just getting some snacks or something. Some guy comes in clearly on Molly or on some upper that just makes you feel euphoric as fuck. Buys a newspaper, takes it up to the counter, is like, look at this newspaper. The print looks so big, dude. And he's like so happy to get this newspaper. And then he just buys it. And I was like, damn, that guy was fucked up as shit. There's also another 7-Eleven near my girlfriend's house. We call it the crack 7-Eleven because every time you go there, there's just something weird happening. It was a 7-Eleven I was in, and a lady was trying to argue with the cashier about whether or not 7-Eleven takes Venmo. And she was swearing that there's other 7-Elevens that take Venmo, and she could just Venmo them the money. And the guy at the counter is like, you can't Venmo 7-Eleven money. She was like trying to Venmo him personally.
Here's what it is there's another 7-Eleven where someone is stealing money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was going to be mine. The sketchy one down the street one night, a guy just went grocery shopping there. I think I might have told this on the show, but like got like so much shit, just like milk and like shit for your house. Brought it up there, tried to pay with a stolen credit card, and it had already been canceled by the bank. Mm-hmm. And so the guy was just like, I think I have to keep this, basically. And the guy was like, what? And then he just kind of ended up running out, basically, because I guess it set off some kind of internal system or whatever.
Keep in mind, we've all seen so much crazy shit at a 7-Eleven. None of us can actually remember the craziest thing that's happened in there.
It's that thing of like, well, it's after 11 p.m. and we're in a city.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to be drunk as shit in the store.
Yeah. The other thing that I have a big association with 7-Eleven is it was one of the places I walked to on a semi-daily basis during lockdown because I was still smoking cigarettes. Uh-huh. And I was keeping the hours of a Ted Kaczynski style like manifesto maker. Mm-hmm. And it would be the only place you could get cigarettes at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is such a weird... I remember that was one of my big problems of being like, it's 3. And that was, I always was braced for that to be a crazy ass experience because all the other 7-Elevens in Koreatown had shut except for that one. It was also the only one that accepted EBT. So like daytime, I assume it was nuts, but you go in there at nighttime and I always would know it was us because the staff was so nice to me. Like they would like engage in conversation. Why do you like Marlboro? Like I always remember that, which was my indication of like, what is this like the rest of the time where a pale mountain man is walking in, mostly talking about Batman Arkham City, buying cigarettes, and then leaving in the night. And they're like, I got to be friends with this.
Thank God this guy's here.
Yeah, thank God for this reasonable gentleman.
At least he didn't put a dead skunk in the microwave.
I've been at the 7-Eleven down the street, and 2 homeless guys ran into each other at like 2 a.m. and they're like, hey, what are you doing over here? And the one guy was like, oh, I just had to come over here to meet someone. It's like, it's 2 a.m. and you're talking about buying meth in fucking 7-Eleven. Like, it's just the most casual conversation in the world.
I mean, I remember the day, this shows that I've led a good life, and that there was a period of time where I knew a bunch of homeless people in downtown Montreal because I worked in bars and restaurants, and you learn that very much they are the sentries and they know what's going on. And I remember being so shocked when he like recognized it. He's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And I was like, oh yeah, like he would just know the homeless. Like, yeah, he wouldn't. That's his crew. You know what I mean? Like that's his. Those are his colleagues.
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh, and it was like that odd moment you have where you're like, yeah, man, like he's still a person.
Right, right. Well, shout out to all the homies hanging outside of 7-Eleven, creeping around.
That homeless person, a man named Hollywood, who negotiated with, for the sake of the story, I'm going to say it was a 7-Eleven, but I don't actually think it was, which is, I'm going to make sure all the other homeless people in this downtown area don't come in here and shit.
But
in exchange, I'm going to need 1 banana a day. And he got that banana, and then he would fake rob people all across
with the banana.
With the banana, you can look at Montreal, Hollywood. Really nice guy. I will say this: I once bought him a beer. He really turned a corner quick. He's one of those ones where you're like, whoa, that's very. I see why you're so good at pretending to rob people, is I think that you may have used a gun in the past.
He just told me to die somewhere. Yeah, he just told me to die somewhere. Call him, motherfucking God. Call him. I dare you. I double motherfucking dare you. Now, fuck this. Right now. No, fuck you. All the cops. All the cops. All the cops.
Just get the fuck out of here. Get out.
Yes, sir. No. Fuck that.
Yo, we have time for just one more segment, and of course, this is our jam of the week. So today we, of course, have Canadian royalty on the goddamn show. So we have to bring in a band that we've never covered before somehow, but it's time, everybody. Hell yeah. Fucking, this is Goddamn Rush with Tom Sawyer.
Here's the problem, though.
Oh, yeah. What's the problem?
These YouTube comments are not going to be kind because I love Rush.
I do too. I've just
fine.
I've just recently gotten into, I just turned 38 years old and the time is nigh. I've just gotten into 80s Rush pretty big.
Oh yeah.
Like Spirit of the Radio, fucking
Here's the problem with that music.
Yeah.
I love it, and it is, and let's all say it together, not good.
oh, but it's so fun.
Like, I mean, what's that song, or the song about living in suburbia that I absolutely love that is so synthy?
Is that Spirit of the Radio?
It's not Spirit of the Radio, but it's that period. Like, that almost broke up the band.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. They all hated that shit except for Neil, right?
Geddy Lee loved it.
Oh, that's right. He's the synth guy.
He's the synth
that
guy.
Makes sense.
And it eventually came, Alex Lifeson sat him down and was like, hey, I play the guitar.
Yeah.
You have to let there be guitar parts in these songs or I quit this band. And the thing with Rush that is very good is they are the only band, I think, that really realized very quickly we should not be successful if we do anything in terms of lineup, we are fucked.
Yeah. You got to stay exactly like this. Yeah. Well, this song, of course, comes off the 1981 classic Moving Pictures. This song has 82 million views on YouTube, 30,814 comments, and I read every goddamn last one of them. So now, let us drop down briefly into the YouTube comment section for Rush's Tom Sawyer and see.
It's going to be so bad.
Let's see what the people have to say. First,
this wasn't written by Mark Twain.
First up, Marcos Slanderos from 7 years ago just bought a Corvette. Played Limelight with the AC going.
Nice.
Doing 120 on I-35, North San Antonio. I thought I was in heaven.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the median Rush
I'm
guy.
going to tell you this. I like that this guy commented on this song.
Yeah.
Talking about a
different song. Oh, yeah. And talks about going 120. But before that, just make sure you know, I was in a Corvette. Was it convertible? No, I had the AC going.
Sandy, you're a Texas person. Would that be a Texas thing of that he's letting you know his car has AC? Like, that's more of a status than
in San
convertible?
Antonio, it's kind of
it's I mean, in Texas, you have to have AC or you're like fucked, So I just think it was a nice detail of his story that he thought would add to it.
Willie Muniz from 6 years ago. When this came out, I was in a school in Rockland County, a place called St. Anthony's. 2 cops were fatally shot and buried in the school cemetery. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Good story.
Why
good
did
story.
you think that everyone needed to know that?
That's the alternate title of this segment, John. Scott G, I fucking love this one. 2 years ago, I convinced my son to use this as his walk-up song for baseball. His song is so much better than anyone else's. And I'm like, do you think any of the kids think that? Or do they think that he's a fucking loser?
You know why it's the best? Because I picked it.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I love just a bad dad that thinks they're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
of
just this
course.
guy stinks and he's just so pleased.
I force my son to do stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah. You want to know why my son has a big dick? Because of me.
Like every other kid on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, I want to come out to rap music.
Right. Yeah, they've all got some rap song, and then this one kid is just. They're like, no, we don't talk to him.
Yeah, all the other kids will get to come out to their theme from their favorite Assassin's Creed
Yeah,
game.
that's right. Yeah, some video game
This
shit.
Poor kids that are just suffering, insufferable father.
Pedro Emanuel from 8 years ago, and I don't understand this at all. My name is John Cena, and now I'm going to UFC to fight against Anderson the Spider Silva. Why am I here? I don't know. But, and you now, what am I doing here? And I love Rage Against the Machine.
John Cena, we found your burner account.
What if that is just John Cena, though?
I mean,
I would have loved to see him drop.
Vince, I tried to fight Anderson Silva, but he would not respond to me.
If he dropped to 185 to fight Anderson Silva, that'd be interesting,
Oh, yeah. We'd so quickly learn once again that wrestling is not real.
Uh-huh.
And UFC quite is.
oh yeah. Johnny Random, 14 years ago. Rush is so intellectual. and people have no idea.
Oh, fuck you, man.
A lot of bands are actually. People have no idea how intellectual Metallica lyrics are. Some of their songs, some, not all of them. Hey, let's start a poll or something on this comment page. Someone name Russia's most intellectual song.
let's start a poll.
What were the comments underneath? What were the comments underneath?
I don't know. This was 14 years ago, so I don't even know.
People don't respond to most of these.
Yeah. We're plumbing I always say, like, there's in the ocean, there's life at the top and there's life at the bottom and nothing in between. That's kind of where we're at with most of these comments. I'll find shit where I'm just like,
I will say this. The idea, and first of all, everyone who likes Rush does say that, like, you don't understand how intellectual they are.
Also,
like,
2112 is the most intellectual Rush song. Come on. What are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
It's got a number in it. That's not what bands do.
It's so intellectual. It's about a religion based around rock and roll not existing, so you can't rock. But someone
smart,
broke
though.
into the temple, and now they are, in fact. Sam, are you sitting down? They're rocking.
You can't stop them.
Yeah.
The bar for deep and intellectual and rock music is so fucking low.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the thing of, this is the thing. I love the Grateful Dead. And what you realize with the Grateful Dead is the Grateful Dead are just the only well-rounded musicians in rock and roll in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
In that it's like, well, like, how are they able to jam? It's like, well, they just understood musical changes and theory, and the rest of you were you were Van Halen. Like, like, also amazingly talented, but you don't need to know how to, like, do a jazz shuffle. You just go...
Retro Scoop 10 years ago. Nice ditty, but singer often sounds like an irritated vixen with a certain percentage of testosterone. It's melodically rather chaotic at times. I'll stick to that other Canadian band if you don't mind. They're called Saga. But I'm sure lots of little Stalins will find it necessary to pull my ear, say in a nice or not so nice way, not to criticize their gods, Rush. Funny place, this planet Earth.
So he just got in a fight with some guys at a bar about Rush and Saga.
Fucking Saga's better.
I mean, I will tell you, that's a very Canadian thing of, like, I don't even know if he was in a bar. Like, he may have just heard a Saga song. And was like, why don't more people like that? Like, you've added way too many American elements of that had to be spurned on by someone. He did that to himself.
This was all in his own brain.
Yeah. He was probably listening to April Wine.
Oh, God, April Wine rips so hard,
They
dude.
do rip so fucking hard.
I love April Wine. Super Lift Rick 12 years ago. Super Bowl 2012. Yeah. More like Super Bowl 2112.
Yeah.
I would love it. Fill the field with people, play out a video, and crank it up so damn loud that it cracks the concrete. Holy shit. It would be awesome. Fantastic. Mind-blowing. Fantabulous. Tie in the greatest laser show and best performance known to man with a live interactive 3D glasses. And wow, everyone entering receives medical marijuana card. Sweet. So he's fantasy booking the Super Bowl
I
halftime
respect this
show.
guy so hard.
Does he understand if you're live somewhere you don't need 3D glasses? You're seeing it in 3D in real life.
Does he also understand that a medical marijuana card does not also provide you with marijuana?
Wait, when was this written?
That was for the Super Bowl for 20. It was written in 2012, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But still, like, but just the idea of, like,
also, he put marijuana in quotes.
Yes, medical marijuana card. And there was another weird one with that, too. Wesley K. Jelson 10 years ago. Whoever doesn't want to get high on medicinal marijuana or legally, and if you smoke pot, you, sir, are dumbass. Just saying, it's a pretty good song to get high to.
Damn, Wesley, you're high as fucking shit.
Man,
that doesn't make any
that,
sense.
Here is the thing, though, and the Grateful Dead has a lot of these, too, which is, like, there's a lot of people that love Rush and the Grateful Dead, and the problem is that no one else around them does.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is their thing.
Yeah.
That they do by themselves. So when it gets out into the internet, I think, like, people are too much themselves. They're like, man, getting high is cool.
Yeah.
I better go tell these people I get high. Like, there's that thing of, like, and then, like,
well, it's like if I go to watch an Auburn game at a bar in LA, I understand that after the game, no one gives a shit in the entire city except for me.
Yeah.
So you just come out, you're like, yeah, if we win, and then you're like, huh.
This is the classic I'm high by myself and have no one to talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's this band in a nutshell.
I just started, so, like, I'm trying to push my stand-up more, and I've started posting a lot on Reddit.
Yeah.
And I have found that I'm really great in the comments. If I get ripped, I am, like, I'm asking questions. I'm taking, insulting troll comments as genuine inquiries. I mean, actually, I think you'll find comedy is subjective, and some people are funny and some people aren't funny. And it's just like, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I like to apologize and say I'll work on it for next time.
I take their side, and nothing infuriates them more. Every time I'm like, I completely agree.
I always do that. I always do that. Anytime anybody says anything on any of our YouTube clips, I always take their side. I'm like, oh, you'd probably you should get on the Patreon. I'll send you a free sticker.
My personal favorite is also have you ever gotten that and then they get angry at you? No, you don't like this. You know, that's you. Yeah, man, I agree. I've heard you out. Every time, to the point that once it turned out I was doing it to a 14-year-old in Australia.
Yes,
got him.
Got him. Don't you feel proud? Who messaged me and was like, "Hey, man, this isn't how the internet works."
You shut the fuck up, mate. That's what you do.
Yeah. I might take you like a cognac.
I got a couple more here. Jordashian Bear 1 year ago. My mom checked to see if I knew how to fight like a mafia girl. She was so proud when I passed the test. That's why I love this song. Chunga checked at Imperial Junior High School to see if I could fight. Chunga and her cellulite fat tree trunk legs trying to fight me in the kitchen. Why don't you try a salad? LOL. I have the mentality of a 5-year-old. I have to win. I went there looking for Beverly Hills white boys. They knew that, and they got so jealous. I told you, no cute California guys go there. They will follow you to your apartment and your job, and they hate Trump because he's white. I got him unimpeached. Chaffee is smart, though, and his mom is the baddest bitch in Beverly Hills, California. This song's so appropriate for that time period right now. That Ukrainian chick going through my purse and my paperwork, touching my tablet. She was just looking at me like I can't do anything.
I gotta tell you.
I like that she's nuts, but she keeps going back to the song. She wants you to know that this is playing in her brain.
You can't find evidence of this anywhere on the internet except for one mention of it on Joe Rogan's podcast in 2011. There was a period of time when Irish travelers thought YouTube was email.
Ooh, yes.
So they didn't understand that people could also see the videos. They thought they were sending it to Johnny O'Flanagan.
That might explain a lot of this segment, because we've always thought there's been a lot of times where it's like, were they trying to text somebody and they just pulled up YouTube somehow?
That's what I think is. I think some people think this is like a way to communicate
messenger service
to the band.
This is what happened with WhatsApp.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They think it's social media.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're not leaving a comment. They're doing it to start a conversation.
That's the craziest thing about it, which is also like, they keep doing this and don't notice it's not working.
Right.
But isn't that amazing?
They probably leave reviews on Google for businesses and all sorts of shit.
Oh, yeah. And finally, Ming Bai Man from 6 years ago.
All right, Ming, let's hear it.
Is Ming Bai Man the brother of Ming the Merciless? We don't understand that on that planet the first name is the last name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His name isn't Ming, it's the Merciless.
Or it might be, Ming the wrestler. Who knows? Ming Bai Man from 6 years ago. This song, to me, is drinking a draft beer with my buddies on Aragon Alley in Korea. The rumble and roar of F-4 fighters at Osan Air Force Base, a plate of dried squid and peanuts for a snack, with 3 or 4 girls gathered around to share it with. Now, a pretty girl is sitting on my lap asking me, "Where you work ye?" That's my 80s. That's my Rush. That's my Tom Sawyer memory.
Just fucking hookers in Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
I have never heard a guy who I know is an annoying 50-year-old more in my life.
Hell yeah.
That shirt, that comment comes with a polo shirt and the phrase, "Well, hear me out," after saying the N-word.
Dried squid, peanuts, and Korean prostitutes.
Hell yeah.
You and I had exactly the same moment of, I know who this is. As soon as he said peanuts, I was like, strap in. I'm so impressed that he used the proper word for Koreans.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Well,
this is when we find out that Air Force base is based in Japan.
That is Rush with their song Tom Sawyer, our jam of the week. John Hastings, please tell people where they can find you and your 2 specials.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm releasing 7 stand-up comedy specials between now and the end of 2024. Head on over to @TheJohnHastings on all fine social media networks to find those specials. Find things about me or find yourself. That's right. You'll find yourself.
John's first special, I believe, is The Times They Are a John Hastings.
Thank you.
Which is fucking hilarious, by the way.
I fucking hate the amount of self-seriousness there is in stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
The names of these specials make me want to puke. Stop acting like we're fucking poets. Gentlemen, ladies.
Unrelenting. The Sam Harder special.
Is that what it is?
No.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's what I want it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like,
I think it's scary. Are you going to do Fentanyl Kills? I think you should, right?
Yeah, Fentanyl Kills seems better.
Yeah.
See, like Fentanyl Kills, I'm like, that could be a joke. There's something about a vibe. It's also, you know what I mean? But it's more like, I can't think of one right now. The only one I can think of right now is Joe Rogan's Burn the Boats.
Yeah.
And that just feels really hack to go after that special. But it's just like, guys, you're funny.
He's talking about the Iliad, John, you know?
Make the fucking title funny. Like, Nick Swartzen's going to die in front of our eyes from alcoholism, but at least he names his special things very clever, like Toilet Face or Jokes from My Mouth Hole or something.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, yeah, definitely check out those specials. They're fucking great. And Sam, where can people find you on the internet?
Sam Harder 666 on Instagram, or you can find me at Slam Harder on Twitter, or you can find me on the Goods from the Woods YouTube page.
That's right.
Thursdays at 5.
Hell yeah.
Doing some streaming.
Yeah. Follow
You'll
us.
want to check it out. Right now there's a good one with Peter Scoble. He took us around.
Yeah.
And by us, I mean me.
Yeah.
Do you want to drive? We can drive around in my truck one day. Do you want to do that?
Fuck
Ooh,
yes.
where at?
Let's do it.
Wherever you want.
K-Town.
Okay.
Well, we haven't been to K-Town yet.
Do you wanna drive around?
We did sort of.
Oh, do you want to do? We can do
Fringes.
We can do the K-Town, because the thing is, K-Town in COVID, it was the only LA neighborhood. This one probably actually had it too, where you could walk to everything from grocery stores to everything.
Yeah.
So it like bloomed in COVID, and then MS-13 arrived again and destroyed it. So it's a fun. We can drive around and be like, that was the time a guy who I think now is a gang member explained to me why they burned down homeless people tents. It's a form of debt collection.
Jesus Christ. Well, yeah, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/thegoodspod. The best way to support our show, and if you are watching this and not just listening to it, you're already doing that, but if you want to see the show and not just listen, head over to patreon.com/thegoodspod. Buy a shirt, prowrestlingtees.com/thegoodspod. Second best way to support our show, head to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Show the attitude of gratitude, because if you do not have the attitude of gratitude, Daddy, Sycho Sid doesn't know shit, and he's coming for you! The Goods from the Woods was recorded and edited by me, Rivers Langley. You can find our show on Twitter @TheGoodsPod. Our theme song was composed by Jonas, the Space Cowboy.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.